Do you own a Kobo? And if so, have you ever asked yourself, is the time remaining on the top of the page while I'm reading actually accurate? In today's video, I am on a quest to find out if the time remaining on the Kobo is an actual accurate prediction. So if you have a Kobo, there are a couple of places that you can see your time remaining. The first one is going to be at the very top of the page while you are reading. You can also turn off your Kobo and have another prediction on your home screen as well of how much time is left in the actual book. Now, if you go back to the inside of the book and you click this little graph button, you get even more time predictions. It tells you how much time is in your current chapter. It will also tell you how much time is in the next chapter that you have to read. And it goes even further to give you a better breakdown of how much time is left in the entire book. In this vlog, I will be reading on my Kobo and trying to figure out if that time is right. So what I'm going to do is use my phone and set a timer for the amount of time that it's predicting me for each chapter. So I might end up doing the timer 2 or 3 times because I know that once is not enough to have an accurate sample size of if the time is right or not. So the first thing I'm going to do is read one chapter with the time it's predicted at the top of the page set on the timer. And then after I've done that, I'll come back and let you know if I succeeded or failed in having an accurate representation of how long it would take me. And then for the second timer, I'm going to read 2 chapters because it does tell you at the top of the page in that little stat area that I talked about before, the time remaining in your current chapter, and then it also tells you the time remaining in your next chapter. So I will just add those 2 numbers together, set a timer for that amount of time, and then read 2 chapters without stopping to see if it's accurate when you go from chapter to chapter as well. Now, I will not be setting a timer for the entire book itself because depending on what book it is that I'm reading for this challenge, it could take me anywhere between like 8 to 12 hours, and I'm not going to be able to read that long without stopping. As much as I wish I could, it's not going to happen. So the first thing I need to do is pick a book to read for this challenge. I think I need to use 1 book for each like test time. So that way my reading pace is consistent. Because if I read a really easy book the first time and then I fly through it and I have extra time, if I switch to a different book with a different writing style and is more dense, then my reading pace would probably be slower. So I think another way to judge the Kobo as well is, will it accommodate for me reading faster or slower based on the book itself? So maybe if the results are inconclusive, I'll need to do a second edition of this video where I read a book in a different genre with a different writing style. I'm thinking for this first one, I want to do one where I know I can read at a steady pace without feeling like I'm slow or dragging. So I'm probably not going to work on my current read, which is Assassin's Apprentice. I do have some horror arcs that I need to get to and want to read as well. So I think I'm going to start one of those instead. I do also have The Isle in the Sea of Silver by Tasha Suri I could read as well. Could read Blood on Her Tongue. I could read Hazelthorn. That could be a good one because it's YA, I think, and I know that it will be easier for me to flow through. A lot of the times I find that for me personally, when I'm reading, I don't actually read from the beginning of the chapter to the end of the chapter without stopping. But having already read C.G. Drew's other book, Don't Let the Forest In, I think Hazelthorn could be a good option because if I remember correctly, their writing style was very easy to just be immersed in without getting distracted. And it also had mid to shorter-ish length chapters. They weren't super long, but they weren't like super short either. I'm talking maybe like 10 pages, 10 to 15 pages per chapter on average, which is going to be easier for me to like sit and focus for that allotted amount of time. Does that make sense? So for example, I'm in the middle of a chapter on Assassin's Apprentice. You probably can't see that, but it says I have 14 minutes left to go. And then if I click on the little stat bar thing, it says that I have 30 minutes in the next chapter. So I could sit here and try to read for 45 minutes straight. It's not going to happen. That's not the kind of girl I am, unfortunately. Now, if I were to start The Staircase in the Woods by Chuck Wendig, which is one of the books I would like to get to in October, the first chapter is called Chapter 0. It's not even a chapter. It's kind of like a epitaph almost. It says I have 58 seconds to read that first chapter and then 4 minutes to read the next chapter. So for this one, I could theoretically do a few chapters in a row to try to gauge if the time is accurate on shorter chapters, because it looks like, based on the bar graph here, that the chapters do start getting longer after the third or fourth one. So it might be better for me to read these first two, like the really short intro and then the first chapter, to make sure the Kobo is adjusted for this book's pacing with my reading pace, and then start the timer. So I think that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go read this first chapter, which is called Chapter 0, and then I'll read the chapter following it, and I will let you know afterwards when I'm about to start the timer. Also, I do want to say I'm not actually going to be talking about the contents of the book in this vlog. This vlog isn't really intending to be like a chatty reading vlog. I am very much intending for this to be an analytical experiment, if you will. So without further ado, I'm going to grab some water. I'm going to sit and read those first two chapters, and then I will get back to you. Okay, it's been maybe 30 minutes. I had to change my shirt because I had a quick lunch and spilled food on myself. I am on chapter 4, which is 7 minutes long. This is going to be the first one I set a timer for. I ended up reading the first 3 chapters because there was chapter 0, which was like a page and a half long, and it was kind of just an intro. And then there was chapters 1 and 2 were super short. And then there was like an email chapter, which was also super short. So basically they were all so short so far. And even chapter 4 is only 7 minutes. So not very long. However, I have, it just changed to 8 minutes. Wait, this is actually interesting. So at the top here, it says 7 minutes. But then when I click on the little infograph thing, it says 8 minutes. Should I set my timer for 8 or 7? Maybe I'll do 8 because it says 8 minutes in this chapter and then 6 minutes in the next chapter. So I'm going to set the timer for 8 minutes, I guess, or do I set it for 7 minutes? This is a conundrum I did not see happening. Okay, I turned off my screen and turned it back on, and now they match. It says 7 minutes for both in the little stat section, and then again at the top here, up there. So I will set the timer for 7 minutes. I'm going to read one chapter, come back, update you, let you know how that went, if the times were accurate. And then after that is when I'll do 2 chapters at a time. So I hope once I read this one and pull that little stat page up, it'll say 6 minutes for one chapter. And then I'm hoping the next one's at least 10 minutes long, just so I can have a longer stretch, like time period for the experiment. Okay, so my timer just went off. However, I have 1 minute left on the chapter. So I stopped reading right when the timer went off. I'm going to just start a stopwatch now. And I'm going to start the stopwatch and read until I'm done and then stop the stopwatch. I'm just going to hold them both side by side because it says I've only got a minute, you know? We're going to see what that looks like and how much time it was off by when I set the timer for 7 minutes. Okay, I finished the chapter and it was off by about 48, maybe 49 seconds if we round up, 49 seconds. Okay, so that's interesting because, again, when I first was about to start reading that chapter, it said 7 minutes along the top bar, but then when I hit the little graph thing, it said 8 minutes. So 8 minutes was more accurate than 7 minutes. Now, let's see what we've got for the next 2. I'm going to, oh my God, it's so short. The next chapter is 6 minutes, and the one after that is only 2 minutes. So I'm going to set the timer for 8 minutes, and I'm going to read both chapters, And then probably if the next chapter is short, I'll just do another timer. We'll do 3 rounds. I feel like 3 rounds sounds good. We'll get a nice average after the 3 rounds, hopefully, of if the timer is accurate, and if not, how much is it off by. Okay, something I did not see happening was that I finished both of those chapters with 1 minute and, well, it was 7 seconds, but it took me a second to hit the button, with 1 minute and 7 seconds left on the timer. So that's very interesting because the first timer was too fast by about 49 seconds, and the second timer is too slow by 1 minute and 6 seconds. So that's interesting. I've been keeping notes, by the way, in my handy dandy notebook on my Kobo about the times. So I'm just going to write that down. So for test 1 with 6 minutes, the timer was too fast by 49 seconds. And for test 2, which was 2 chapters for a total of 8 minutes, it was too slow by 66 seconds. So I am going to, I think, do 2 chapters again. The next chapter I have is 6 minutes, and the chapter after that is 7 minutes. So I will set the timer for 13 minutes. And I'm glad that both of these chapters are equalish length. So that's good, because the chapters I just read had a very, pretty significant time discrepancy. One was 6 minutes and one was 2 minutes. So these are obviously basically the same, 6 and 7. I do wish that they were a little longer. I wish that they were maybe 10 to 12 minutes long, so I had more time to fall into the rhythm of reading, because obviously I'm stopping to chat with you guys in between. But yeah, I'm finding that was very interesting that I finished before the timer went off. I'm going to do my last little test, and I will come back with the data, and we'll try to figure out what that means. Okay, I just finished reading for the 3rd time, and this time the timer was only slow by 17 seconds. So I don't know what that means in terms of our stats that we've been keeping. Shall we have a peek? Test 3, which was 13 minutes, and it was too slow by 17 seconds. So if we do some math, let's see what math we could do here. We can add 66 plus 17. Do I do plus negative 49 because it was slow by that? How do I do that? Plus negative? Is plus negative just the same as negative plus negative 49? Yes, okay. So 66 seconds plus 17 seconds plus the negative 49 seconds equals a total of 34 seconds. So I think that we can conclude from this little experiment that the Kobo timer, time remaining in chapter, is accurate within a, we'll round up, 40-second window. That's pretty good, actually. I think that's pretty cool that it's accurate within a 40-ish second window, give or take, based on your reading speed, I would assume. And interesting that sometimes you can be reading a little bit slower than it thinks you will, and also be reading a little bit faster than it thinks that you will. But overall, it's accurate within about 40 seconds. So I think that these stats are pretty good. I do want to do this timer again. I could do this with my old Kindle Paperwhite because I still have that. It's in my drawer in my office at home. So that would have to be probably in a month or 2 when I'm back at home, settled, and my house has been, cleaned and organized and ready to live in again. So if you're interested in me doing this same experiment on a Kindle, let me know. I could do that for all of you Kindle users out there. And if you've made it this far in the video, leave a tree emoji since I was reading The Staircase in the Woods, which I'm loving so far, by the way. And I will see you in the next one. Bye!